you guys? This is Rob from the Gay Guy Plays, and today we celebrate a channel milestone with a 30k Q&A. Alrighty, there were tons of questions submitted, so because of the fact that I wanted to shout you guys out, I kinda had to reword and consolidate questions in order to get everything to gel. In addition, there was no possible way I could answer everything you guys tossed out, and of course there are certain things I'd like to keep under wraps. So if I didn't get to your question or didn't answer it in extreme detail, just keep that in mind. Now, without delay, let's get to the Q&A. Hell's Saints 28, Avernus DO, Dark Ghost, and the amazing Tenno Ash, which really shouldn't have surprised me, all ask, are you actually gay? Now honestly, I don't know why this is still a question. This has hung around for ages. A lot of people seem to think that the channel name is like a troll name or something, but no, honestly, I am not that clever. So for those wondering, yes, I am gay. Very, very gay. In that same vein, Estelor Sensei and Maurice Keepers asks, has anyone ever told you, in real life or the internet, that you are exploiting your sexuality for your channel? If yes, what have you answered them? Honestly, I got this a lot when I first started the channel, but I think everybody kind of gets the channel now and everything and all the glory that it is. The fact is, at its core, I am a very vulgar human being. I make a lot of dirty jokes, and that is just genuinely me. The only thing that really seems to bother people is the fact that it comes from like a gay point of view, and it's not something they're necessarily used to. Some people like it, some people hate it, but genuinely, if you ask any of my real life friends, or even my mother, oh god, that's embarrassing, they all know how bad I am. And this channel is just a reflection of me. So while some people would consider it exploiting, I personally consider it me just expressing myself. Moving along, Davante Cannon asks, what is my favorite frame and or power? Then Kira Freedom 45 follows it up real quick with his favorite is Loki and his favorite power is Radial Disarm, which is halfway true. My favorite frame is definitely Loki, however, my favorite power is not Radial Disarm. Radial Disarm is an amazing utility power and it's super unique to Loki, but it's definitely not my favorite. My favorite set of powers, I guess I'm gonna say, is things that open up finishers. I really love abilities that do that, so things like Excalibur's Radial Blind, Valkyr's Paralysis, Equinox's Sleep, and yes, even Ash's Teleport. But I think out of all of those, my favorite is probably Sleep, so take that, Kira Freedom 45, you don't know everything. Keeping in theme, Gabriel Aguilera asks, other than Loki, which Warframe do you have the most fun playing so far? To be honest with you, my favorites at the moment are brawler frames. They've been my favorites for quite a while now. Frames with high armor that can use life strike and rage builds, those ones are super fun, but Valkyr does kind of take the cake at the moment. I love all of the reworks and new skins and just how all of the development up until this point has kind of meshed to make her just fantastic. She feels so good to use right now. And speaking of other things I like, Science Laponi asks, I like trains. Do you like trains? Now, to most people, this might be a weird question, and you probably thought that, ooh, I'm gonna throw something weird at him. But actually, I like trains a lot. And one of the big things that I've wanted to do for the longest time is I wanted to take a train from like one part of California into another part of California, maybe into Oregon. I don't actually know how trains work. Well, not that I don't know how trains work, I just don't know like where there's a train in my area, but it's definitely something that I've wanted to do, and I've probably romanticized it way too much. And it's probably a lot shittier than I think it is, but it just seems so fun, and you can have like a little picnic on the train. It would be so cool. And speaking of picnics, Thor McGinnis, oh god, I probably butchered that really bad, asks, do you like cookies, and if so, what kind of cookie? As for cookies, to be frank, they're kind of at the bottom of like my dessert standing list. I'm not the biggest fan of cookies, however, in my little town, there is a bakery that does something called pecan chewies. And let me fucking tell you, that shit is absolutely ridiculous. Oh my god, it is like a pecan pie in cookie form. It's like the outside is like nice and crusty, and then you like break into it, and inside it's like oh my god, this soft pecan pie chewy heaven. It's so good. Oh my god, I need one. Now, on to some more serious matters. Trickbox asks, what do I think about Warframe China? Do I agree with people crying every time an image of their half-exclusive content is leaked onto our forum? or when we see that the past Prime accesses are available to them. Now, Warframe China is this kind of weird thing because China seems to be its own, like, island for gaming. I think that it was only recently they were able to actually, like, have consoles in China, which is really, really mind-boggling and weird to me. So honestly, for me, like, whatever the fuck is happening in China, like, let them do their thing. Just know that we're gonna end up getting that stuff at some point. Because, I mean, let's all be realistic here. DE is a company. They need to make money. They're not gonna spend time developing things and not making them available for everyone to have access to. Because that just wouldn't make sense for a company to do something like that. To say, hey listen, I'm gonna produce this and I'm gonna make it available for sale, but only here, and you can't have it. Even if you wanna buy it, we're not gonna take your money. No, 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 no. That is like just bad business practice. So for anybody to like freak out, it's very immature. So hold your horses, we're gonna get that shit eventually. Calm your tits, okay? And as for them having access to old Prime accesses, I don't really think it's that big a deal. You can get Primes. I mean, we have access to Primes, except for the ones that they vaulted, but they always tell us ahead of time when they're gonna vault them, and they do always vault the older frames, so, you know, whatever. Now, speaking of whining and moaning, Dragon Black asks, would I mind doing a series about my favorite forum threads? If you even look at them, XD. That's a D, right? I'm pretty sure that's a D. Maybe I just think everything's a D. Regardless, the answer is fuck no. Frankly, I always try to convince myself to go to the forums and kind of like, you know, redeem my faith in humanity. And just on all of like the new post areas or the hot topic shits that people post on, it's just like a bunch of crap. And the fact is, I already can't stand when stupid shit happens in my comment section. And I'm sure that every single one of you have probably seen me rage like a maniac in the comments. Just picture me going apeshit like that in the actual fucking forums. No, it could not happen. My blood pressure would be insane. I would literally be glued to my computer, just fucking ready for the next asshole. I'm like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And then I would die. My head would like literally burst and pop into like a little bloody red pustule. And to continue on to the scum of the universe theme, Joseph Napoleon asks, do I trade in the trading section much? Or do you buy plat? If you do you think it's worth it to buy plat with money? Now honestly, I don't really trade in the trading section very much, unless I have something like new and cool. Like recently, I actually was able to get a set of Trinity Prime parts. I farmed it of my own volition, okay? And I was like, you know, I should probably just sell this on the market, so that's probably what I'm gonna do at some point this weekend. But I don't go around trying to hawk things that I know that nobody really gives two shits about. Like I see all of these people spamming massive lists of all the crap that they have, and I'm like, yep, not reading that. So honestly, I can't wait until they do a whole overhaul on the trading section, because I think that would be absolutely fantastic. Now, as for plat, yes, I definitely buy plat, but I specifically buy plat during Prime Access, because honestly, that is like the best value per dollar for plat outside of a 75% off coupon, which to this day, for as long as I've played for like thousands of hours. I don't think that I've ever gotten a 75% off plat one. And in that specific case, I definitely think it's worth the money. One of the phrases that I genuinely honestly live by is, you can always get more energy, you can always get more money, but you can never get more time. And frankly, when it comes to work, video games, and just trying to conduct a normal life, I need more time. So if DE offers a package that means that I don't have to farm primes, I get cool little accessories and shit, and I get plat on top of that just to cover my ass, hell yeah, I'm gonna do that! Not to mention the affinity booster is fantastic, and the credit booster is like, I don't know, it's there, I don't pay attention to that shit. So for me and my mindset of not like having time to waste, oh yeah, I definitely think that it's worth it. And when Prime Access comes around, I'm like, hallelujah, I can buy plat without feeling like shit about it. Now in turn, Shadow Jester asks, how do I get my Prime Warframes? Do I farm some of them or do I buy all of them? As you can probably tell from the previous answer, I buy all of them. Now continuing with the Prime theme, Kyle Kimmy asks, what Warframe do you think will possibly get primed, and which one deserves its Prime version? Now info on the next Prime has already been released, and it is confirmed to be Saren Prime, which I'm very, very excited about. but I will take bets that the prime to follow her will most likely be Vauban Prime. Because if recollection serves me right, there was one Tenno Live where they played the Volt trailer, but right before that, it had said something about a Master Tactician. And I'm like, wait a second, Master Tactician? No, they refer to Master Tactician as Vauban Prime. So you never know, his ass might have been in the works for a while. And as for which frame deserves to be primed, all of them deserve to be primed. Frankly, we already hit the bottom of the barrel when we had Ash Prime and Volt Prime. It was like this 6-month span of like shit primes. So at this point, it's all up from here. And one thing I do need to clarify, every Warframe can be primed. I don't want to hear none of this, oh, Valkyrie can't be primed, she was created. Shut the fuck up. Every single one of them can be primed, okay? Now, on the other end of the spectrum, Seal Adelmo asks, penis? Yes, I will take some please, thank you. Oh god, I said that part really, really loud. I bet you all of my neighbors could hear. How embarrassing. Boo! Now Semtex attacking toucans Josh Jepson and Super Nintendo asks, I know, Super Nintendo, why are they asking me these questions? When and how did you realize you were gay? I think that I realized I was gay about the same time when everybody else realized that they were straight. Right about the time where all of your hormones kick in, I was kind of like, nope, I will take a dick please. While the rest of my friends were like, oh, that chick is hot. And I'm like, no pussy for me. No thank you. Keeping in theme, Joshua Halsheimer, Argon the Fox, and Naomi all asks, what is my coming out story? Do you have tips for closeted people? Now my coming out of the closet story is extremely underwhelming. There was like no fucking parade when that shit happened because frankly everybody kind of knew. Like it was never a very hard transition for me. I didn't ever feel the need to come out. I just felt that it was kind of understood. I think like when I finally like said it to my mom, we were probably like in a fight or something and I was just being sassy and I was like, oh, and by the way, I'm a homosexual. And then I probably slammed the door and moved on with my life. There was really no like surprise to anything. It was just kind of like a punctuation to an argument. And as for tips for closeted people, honestly, don't come out until you feel ready to come out. But once you've made that decision to come out, fucking just rip that shit off like a band-aid. Honest to goodness, you will feel amazing after you've done it. And it's this weird thing for me because coming out is kind of like this badge of honor. And that's why now I'm extremely proud to be a gay guy plays. At first I was kind of like, oh, I just slapped this name together. Now it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm a gay guy plays. And it's because while being gay doesn't totally define me, it has definitely flavored the way that I experience a lot of things. So when I hear that someone is gay and out, I hear the word survivor, I hear the word fighter, and is fine for the most part. I mean, none of us are ever completely fine, like as human beings. However, you know, we go through that gauntlet and we make it out on the other side and it's kind of fucking fantastic. So, you know, don't do it until you're ready. But once you kind of like made that commitment, once you've said, I'm gonna do it, just fucking have at it. And while it might be rough, it will be memorable as fuck. Now, F Reaper for the win asks, hey Rob, do you think starting a channel called A Straight Guy Plays would net me anywhere close to the support you've gotten? Well, if you were funny and you put out good content and you put out shit that people wanted to watch, I'm sure you would. See, a lot of people think that the name is the only thing that makes the channel. The fact is, the content is really what keeps people here. Like, I wouldn't be sitting at 30k subscribers just because I have a channel name called A Gay Guy Plays. So, if you want to go make A Straight Guy Plays, I say you do it, and you do it right, and I will see you at your 30k, okay? Now, speaking of content, Sanctuary asks, I've always wondered, how the hell do you come up with the analogies for your videos? Honestly, bathroom time. I do not know what it is, but sometimes when I am just like facing a big wall of writer's block, I just like take a shower, or I take a shit, or I take a leak. I don't know what it is, but my bathroom is magic. That is where about 75% of the dick jokes come from. But I think at the same time I pull a lot from like things that have happened to me in the past, or things that I just find plain funny or weird. Like, life is just really odd and there's so many stupid things that happen, so why not put them in a weapon review, right? I mean, that makes total sense. Now in turn, Eric Chan asked, do I cringe at my own sexual/gay jokes and innuendos sometimes? Oh, trust me, I understand that some of my jokes, if not all of my jokes, are absolutely terrible. And I think that being a viewer, you have to be aware of the fact that I definitely do not take myself seriously. I mean, there are some terrible puns in there, and there are just some horrible, like, shock value jokes that are in there, and I just, like, shake my head. Trust me, there are some times where people will leave comments on older videos, and I always want to go back, and I always want to kind of comment back to those people to say, hey, listen, it's an old video, but I'm still here, like, you know, commenting and kind of, like, keeping in touch with everybody. And I just happen to hear myself saying something stupid, and I'm like, oh, that's bad. That's really, really bad. But it's kind of like B-movie horror bad, you know? You come to the channel knowing it's probably not gonna be good and it's probably gonna be cringeworthy, but I think that's kind of the charm. Now Blizzard HD asks, how do you have so many credits? It's easy, I sleep with the developers. Flash Tirade, Zozabo Shizion, Russell Hubbard, and Sempiterra X. Probably fucked that one up too, as if I probably haven't fucked up a whole bunch of the other ones. They all ask if I could add or overhaul one thing in Warframe, what would it be? Now, to be honest with you, I am not good with these questions simply because of the fact that I'm a very, like, what's in the now, what's happening right now kind of thing. I'm good at playtesting, I'm good at crunching numbers, I'm good at working with things that exist. So when somebody asks something along the lines of, hey, come up with an abstract thing that doesn't exist and bring it into creation and, like, you know, make sure that it doesn't suck for people to consume, it's not something that I would really be great at. But if there was something that I could be like, hey, you might want to take a look at this and maybe you could kind of fiddle with this and make it real good and leave it up for the developers to tie down and perfect, I would definitely love to see trade rework. I think that would be a really, really cool thing. And dear Lord sweet baby Jesus, even though I love them, fucking the Kubro pathing, y'all need to do something about that. Like, I love them and I still find them more useful than the fucking carrier. I'm gonna say that right now, put that shit down. But I just don't understand sometimes. You know what I mean. You just look over at your Kubro doing something and you're like, I don't get it. The enemy's path just fine. They attack just fine. I don't exactly know what's happening with you. Maybe you like having a moment in the corner or something. But yeah, those are definitely the things that I would be like, hey, you might want to take a look at this. Now Soon Sofawara, Guardian Gold Digger, and Dragon God Black Ace asks, if I could create my own Warframe, what abilities would they have and what would they be like? Okay, now this I can do. I actually brainstormed a while back as to what kind of Warframe I would want to have if they could customize one specifically for me. And I thought that it might be really cool to have a shadow-based Warframe. Now, I get that there are a ton of stealth-based frames, but you have to hear me out. So his physical build would be somewhere in between Loki and Limbo. I want him to kind of be a little bit on the smaller side. His first ability would be a small targeted AoE, kind of like Equinox's Rest and Rage range. Now, it would blind enemies and debuff their armor, so think of it as kind of like a reverse silence, where enemies can hear you but they can't see you. His second ability would be a single target slow and staggered that leaves his enemies open to finishers. If the target is killed, the effect transfers to all other enemies in the area of effect, staggering and slowing them as well. Now his third ability would share animations with Ember's Accelerant. It would be an area of effect accuracy and armor debuff that gives you and all allies in the area of effect a boost to your damage for every enemy that you hit. And lastly, of course, since this is going to be a stealth frame, his ultimate would be a toggled stealth. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This ability will actually build up charges for every kill that you get in stealth. Once toggled off, you'll receive a damage bonus that will cap, you know, just for balance sake, for every enemy that you killed. So this way it incentivizes you to play both in and out of stealth. And I know that there's all kinds of balancing issues that happen, but I definitely wanted something that would, like, give a lot of debuffs and would actually scale in late game. Now Soon continues on and he asks, if I could design my own weapon in Warframe, what would I come up with? And I'm still holding very, very closely to this idea. However, the new Archer frame kinda has it going on. There was a video way back in the day where we came up with weird weapon concepts. And one of the ones that really, really jazzed me was like an infested bow, where you would literally pull out like bone spines and you would shoot like poison-based arrows at enemies. I was like, oh my god, that would look so cool. However, I think the new Archer frame is going to incorporate bows and poison, so that might be moot. However, I'm still all about those bone spines, so maybe like a fucking infested sniper spine shooting rifle thing. I'm all about, I just want like I just want to fucking shoot a big bone at something. And doesn't that just sum up all of my videos? So, Argon the Fox asks, what weapon category do you think needs more additions? And if I could see any weapon buffed so it could be taken into endgame content, what would it be? So, the weapon category that I would love to see more additions in are whips. Give me more whips. I want dual whips, one in each hand, wah-pa, 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 wah-pa. And that is also the category that I would like to see buff or endgame content. I fucking love whips. They're just so like, the moveset is just so fucking different from a lot of the other ones that are out there. The range on them is fantastic. I just want like a buff one to take it to T4 Survival. Somebody give me a whip. Woohoo, primed reach on a whip. I gotta try that very, very soon. Continuing with the weapon theme, Nazgear asks, do I keep my normal guns/frames after you get the prime version of them? And have I ever sold a weapon, or do I just keep buying weapon slots for every single one that comes out? Would that include the MK1s? Now honestly, I don't sell shit. And one of the big reasons I don't sell things is usually for like videos. I like having them just in case I ever need them. Now, have I ever needed them for a video? No, not really. However, I like to kind of have that stuff just in case. However, I would be lying if I said that I haven't done it before because I have sold a couple of the MK1s. But not all of them, I still have a couple of them lying around. Why? I don't know. Lazy. Like, I'm just really shitty with inventory management. So usually, I'm pretty fucked in Diablo 3 and Guild Wars 2. No, that just doesn't work. Now, kind of along the lines of video stuff, DJ Reese asks, what screen capture software do I use? What do I use to edit it afterwards? Do I use a separate audio recording software? If so, what? So the screen capture software that I use is Fraps for normal kind of like gameplay videos for a majority of the things you guys see. However, when recording with other people or some like long duration content, I'll usually go for NVIDIA's Shadowplay just because it doesn't really hurt frame rate too much and the file sizes are much more manageable. As for audio, just as long as I'm not recording with other people, I'll pretty much always record my audio separately, and that I use Audacity because it's free and easy to use. Now, as for editing all of it together, I actually use Lightworks. And even though it does kind of limit my resolution, it is the one that I've like learned on and know all the cool tricks with, so it's really hard for me to swap over to another editing software like Sony Vegas or something. Continuing on the channel subject, XXDiego006XX asks, how do you create thumbnails for my videos? Honestly, it's all about taking a million gazillion screenshots, catching them in action shots, and making sure that they kind of look like they're doing something. I'm not really the biggest fan of like static poses unless there's like a lot of cool energy like thingies around them. And actually, if you can see, I probably put it up on screen already. This is my big old folder containing all of the screenshots I've taken. Why I feel the need to hang on to it, I don't know. I'm probably a little bit hoarderish. What are you gonna do, right? Now, there were many variations of this next question, so I just consolidated it. Gerald Bukes, Lord J. Jarrah, Obsidian Deadshot, Digital Mist, Destructor 9000, Nightman Gaming, The Tohino AWS, Fum Kios, World of Skittles, Albert Rodriguez, and Anime! There's like several E's in that one, okay? I just had to keep going. They all asked, what got me into Warframe? Now, to be honest with you, I got into Warframe after playing Mass Effect 3. I did a lot on the multiplayer and it just kind of went stagnant a bit. So then after that, I moved on to Blacklight Retribution. And I started playing that for a while, but that also just didn't feel like the right fit. So one day I was like stumbling around on YouTube and I actually found aka Mike B's channel and he did these crash courses on Warframe. And I really like the concept of the frames and all of their individual powers and how they all kind of like have their own personalities. They have their own specific look to them and I really kind of jived with that. So to be honest with you, I actually watched a whole bunch of his crash courses before I actually ever started playing the game. And you know, the whole thing was free to play, so I just jumped in and I started playing. And after a bit of a rough start with Loki, I managed to pull my shit together, grab myself a bow, and fucking massacre. After that, I fell in love, and then the love story begins. And in turn, Delius Soulfire, Fraxen, and Hybrid Dragon asked what got me into making YouTube videos for Warframe. Now, to be honest with you, way back in the day, well, I guess not that far back in the day, I actually used to make a couple kind of like, I don't know, weird vloggy YouTube comedy videos with one of my old friends. And to be honest, their videos are still floating out there in the internet somewhere. However, I will not tell you where they are, so too bad for that. But one of the things that really inspired me to do it was actually a New Found Glory song, and this one is a bit of a throwback. It's off of their Sticks and Stones album from the song Understatement, and it goes, "I'm sick of clapping when I know that I could do it better for myself." And because of the fact that there was just nothing out there that I felt really resonated with me, I said, okay, why don't you man the fuck up and do it your goddamn self? And that's honestly what got me started on YouTube. Now, speaking of a New Found Glory, Half Dark Shadow, Sailor Naruto 39, Perseus 15, and Verd Tier, which I'm sorry, I'm fucking up names left and right. You're just gonna have to understand, I can't pronounce everything right. They ask what kind of music I'm into and who my favorite musician is. Now, honestly, my musical taste is a little bit all over the place, from hip-hop to old 90s pop rock to like top 40 kind of crap and mashups. I love friggin' mashups, so I guess if I were to kind of like sum it up, a little bit of Beyonce, a little bit of Nicki Minaj mixed in with a little bit of 9 Inch Nails, New Found Glory, and Norwegian Recycling. Go check them out. In addition to all of the amazing artists that make license-free music like MDK, Kubi, Warp Tech, and some of Laszlo's stuff. As for who my favorite musician is, honestly, I had a little bit of a love affair with Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails. After watching him perform live and seeing those fucking arms, I'm like, holy shit. But that's not what I'm basing favorite musician on. From the very little research that I've heard, he pretty much designs all of his tracks himself. He's supposed to be this really kind of like wackadoo mad scientist of industrial rock, and he's been at it for ages, so I'm totally into someone who can take their creation from scratch. And if you've ever heard his shit is pretty fucking complex. You hear a bunch of things going on. I can't even describe them because they're not usual like instrument sounds. I'm like, alright, you're hot, you're experimental, and you got a sexy voice. I mean, that ticks a lot of boxes right there for me. Now, speaking of voices, Pizza Man asks, will you sing more? I sing every day, all day. My neighbors probably hate the shit out of me. They just want me to shut the fuck up. However, will I sing more for you guys? I don't know. We will have to see. Maybe get me really drunk on stream at some point. Now, Brian Romero asks a little bit more of a complicated question. He asks, do you have a senpai? I actually have a whole lot of senpais. There are a lot of people that I look to for inspiration. Like YouTube-wise, one of my big senpais is Northern Lion. Now, if you've never seen his stuff, legitimately, he plays a shit ton of Binding of Isaac. And that's pretty much about like 75% of what he does. He's made over 1,000 videos of this freaking video game, and he just doesn't run out of things to say. I just can't comprehend it, because as I'm like trying to do live commentary, I sit there and I'm like, I don't know what to say next. I don't know, it's entertaining. Which kind of ties into Samuel King's question, why don't you do content similar to what DK does when he plays in-game and does live commentaries? And honestly, it's because I like compare myself to like Northern Lion's level of commentary. And I mean, he's pulling out pop culture references from the early 2000s while talking about gameplay. I mean, legitimately, I don't understand how he can talk for so long and still be competent at playing the game that he's playing. Like, there's so many times on stream where I find myself just like, listen, I can either talk or I can play good. You guys gotta decide. And that's why I like invite people and shit, because I'm like, hey, listen, you come, you just kind of like be my crutch so that I can make interesting commentary in chat. However, outside of the Warframe world, I really love comedians. Like, there are just some people that are just so ridiculously funny. Two of the people that I look up to big time are Wanda Sykes and Chelsea Handler. And if you have not seen fucking Chelsea Handler's You Gonna Be Kidding Me comedy special on Netflix, you need to go watch that shit. That shit is not safe for work. Don't watch it around little kids. But that woman, I made DK watch that shit with me, and oh my god, we were fucking dying. We were dying. So if you think I'm bad, go watch that special. I do not hold a candle to that woman. Now, slightly in the same vein, Devin Weathers asks, who is my most fuckable celebrity? Now, to be 150% honest with you, I don't really like track him down and say, ooh, he's hot. I usually find myself more attracted to like YouTubers just because I get to see more of their personality. Because here's the thing, I used to work at like Hollister and Abercrombie, and I've been surrounded by like beautiful people all my fucking life. And let me tell you, some of them are fucking dull as dishwater, and I can't do it. As much as I like a pretty face, and trust me, pretty faces fucking matter, but if they have nothing behind that, nothing that entertains me, nothing that keeps me like, you know, invested in wanting to like do nasty shit with them, then I don't really pay too much attention to them. But then again, don't get me started on YouTubers that I have a thing for, because I have really weird tastes, and DK has been a witness to many of those. He looks at a lot of the guys that I like and he's like, the fuck is wrong with you? And I would have to agree. Moving along, Braden T asks, what is your full name? Go fuck yourself. However, Fraxian asks, what is my cat's name? My cat's name is Apollo. Now, that actually wasn't a name that I gave him. I rescued him, he had that name, and I was like, child, you done been through too much already. You keep the name that they've been calling you this whole time. Now, Argon the Fox, Emmanuel Garcia, Machu Supremo, and Funkios all ask, do you play any games other than Warframe? And yes, in fact, I do. However, I am so embarrassingly bad at pretty much all of them that I do not post anything from any of those. Specifically, I play Smite solely in Arena, I play League of Legends solely in bots, and I play Awesomenauts whenever I'm bored of the other two. At least that's my current, like, game rotation. And if you notice, all of these are jump in, jump out games. Kind of similar to Warframe, but none of these really have any kind of, like, long-term deals going on with them. Now, Lauren Salcido asks a shit ton of questions. First, before Warframe, what was my big game obsession? To be honest, I think the only big game obsession that I had before Warframe was probably playing like EverQuest 2 or something like that. I liked Mass Effect 3 a lot and they did a lot in their multiplayer, but I don't think I was ever like obsessed like I was in EverQuest 2. And honestly, MMOs kind of have that effect on you. Specifically, I remember one time when they added a new race into the game, and it was this race of evil fairies. And I was like, fuck, I have to do that, I have to be that. So I ground that shit out hard as fuck. And I think that I was number 2 on the server for making it to max rank with that character. Number 1, however, for that specific race and class, which was a warden. Anyway, that's just, I'm geeking out now, I need to stop myself. He then asked, did I have any other games in mind when I started the channel? To be honest with you, no, I did not. Honestly, when I started the channel, I didn't really have much of a plan for anything. I was just kind of like, alright, just do it and figure it out as you go. Which, to be honest, is kind of the way I conduct my life. Next, he asked, what genre of games do you enjoy the most, considering Warframe is a hybrid action shooter MMO-esque thing that's a bit harder to define. So I've narrowed it down to this. I like third-person things because I like to see what my character looks like, and I also like games where I can kind of like jump in and jump out of. I don't like to make any like heavy commitments like I have with Warframe. Like, Warframe is my long-term relationship. Any additional gaming will just be like good friends. In addition, I also like games that have unique character classes and have like a lot of character classes. Honestly, I think that's what I really like about Warframe, is that there's always different frames to try out, there's different cool mechanics with each one, so having variety in classes is also a big thing for me. I wonder if that like answered the question or if I just started rambling. Anyway, and Lawrence closes it all off with, holla at your boy. What is this? Are you 12 and is this 2005? You need to calm down with that shit, because you know what? I might have let you holla if you hadn't said, holla at your boy. Now you need to take a page from Danger Gaming, because he asked, what is your favorite food? Now if you wanted to get at me, that is the kind of question you should have asked, because that's a good question. That's the kind of question that'll get me in bed with someone. As for my favorite food though, I'm pretty sure it is some form of sushi that contains unagi. Now if you don't know what unagi is, I'm not gonna tell you, and I don't plan on telling you because it might freak you out, but have it, it's good, it's cooked, it's yummy, just taste it, you'll love it. Just don't look too closely at the ingredient list because it might weird you out just a little bit. Now back on the gaming track. Dat-L, the Force Mech Elites, X-Samurai X, Metro X2, Phantasmal Wordsmith, and Rosyati Musa wanted to know, what is the future of the channel and if I'm planning on introducing other games to it, and would I ever move on from Warframe? Now, as for the channel, at the moment, it is going to be business as usual. Simply because alongside my day job and all of the shit that DE puts out, it's hard to keep on top of things sometimes. And it's hard to find time to do every single video that you want to do. So right now, that is kind of my world. Now, eventually, I do want to start adding other games to this. Maybe like a let's play of something that's like going on at the moment, just to kind of break up the content of the channel. However, I am going to be honest with you, I did do Transistor a while back and you know, it wasn't the greatest hit with everybody. But then again, my live commentary hasn't been the greatest, so maybe with a little bit of practice I'll be able to put out something a little bit cooler. Now, as for quitting Warframe or moving on from Warframe, at the moment, I don't really see myself doing it. I really like the development structure of DE. I love all of the things that they put out, and you guys know I have the hots for whatever Minky does. Like, Minky is the Beyonce of Warframe. He puts that shit down. But let's say something happened and maybe I was able to free up a lot of time and I was able to cover Warframe and other stuff. I would probably move on to some fun shooter games. In fact, I know that DK is super hyped over Battleborn and Overwatch, and to be honest, it's kind of rubbing off. I'm kind of getting a little excited over that stuff too, so you never know, maybe you'll see that kind of stuff on the channel as well. I think one of the big reasons why I stick with Warframe content is because it's something that I know really well. Like, I wouldn't feel confident enough to give you guys reviews on League of Legends champions or like tips and tricks with Smite gods. I'm really not that good at that kind of stuff. I'm like passable. I'm like barely passable. So reviews would really go out the window for that. It would just be kind of like on the fly, let's play recorded content, and it could just be embarrassing for me. I'll let you know that right now. It could be really bad. Now, interestingly enough, this next question actually does tie into the previous. Tommy Bull asks, will you read me bedtime stories? Now, honestly, one of the things that I've wanted to do with the channel, and honestly this is only something that I've talked to a couple people about, but I used to do a whole lot of creative writing, and I love making up sub-stories that kind of fill in the gaps of the story from unique and different viewpoints. And the cool thing about Warframe is there are tons of gaps in the story, so you can make up a whole lot of stories, make up a whole lot of protagonists and antagonists to kind of fill that gap. So I thought it would be cool to write something up like that and read that out. I just never really could figure out the kind of format that I would want to put it in for the channel. Plus, it's something very different. Warframe lore is something that I discuss, but not something I really jump heavily into on the channel. Now, Destructor9000 asks, are you ever planning on getting a PS4? If so, what games? Now, to be 100% honest with you, I am all about my PC. I built this thing from scratch, I know how it runs, I know how to make it run amazingly, and frankly, it's gonna shit on any console that's out there at the moment. So getting a PS4 isn't really all too enticing for me. To be honest, the only thing that's really gonna grab me is possibly the Final Fantasy VII remaster, rework thing. I don't really know exactly what they're calling it, but you know, they're bringing back Final Fantasy VII, they're gonna do some different things to it, and if those things look fucking fantastic, I don't know, and it might bring me over to the dark side. We'll see. Now, Estalior Sensei asks, besides new content, what is it that makes me keep wanting to play Warframe? To be honest, there are like a bazillion gajillion things that keep me coming back to Warframe, but a lot of it is my own like completionist kind of OCD kind of thing. Now, one of my current tasks is that I need to swap over to the opposing set of syndicates that I'm on right now, because the Tello Syandana is just too fucking badass, and I need a couple more of them to slap some arcanes on. In addition, I also like to keep my cores over 1,000 just in case some crazy new Prime mod drops and I need to like max it out ASAP. So core farming definitely keeps me in there. In addition, sometimes I feel like I just need to blow off some steam, and there is nothing better than running into a mission with one of those brawler frames and hacking things up or whipping out the taunt core and blowing someone's face off. Sometimes you just need that after a day of dealing with ridiculous quick thinking comments. Ugh. Now in turn, Nazir asks, what weapon did I most regret spending a forma or potato on? And what is the weapon you instantly knew you had to forma 5 to 6 times the moment you fired a single shot? Now, to be honest with you, I don't really think I regret spending a forma on any weapon. There's nothing that stands out in my brain. Plus, to me, potatoes and formas are always something you can get more of, so I don't really stress like that. Now, as for the weapons that I instantly fell in love with, I would like to say the Penta is one of those weapons. However, I went apeshit crazy when that Tonkor came out. I swear to God, like the second I fired that first shot, I was like, holy shit, this is gonna be a thing. I love the Penta, but oh my God, the Tonkor, I could just put my face in that shit all day, just That is a fantastic fucking weapon. It's got interesting mechanics, it explodes, it does all the things that like tick my boxes, you know? Now speaking of things that tick my boxes, I Wonder the Worst asks if I use any awkward builds on my Warframes. I think my most notable awkward build that I still to this day absolutely love is Valkyr's Prolonged Paralysis build. Now, back when that augment first came out, it would just pull enemies towards you and they would still be standing up so you could use normal finishers on them. But there were so many bugs that they had to be knocked down so that you could use ground finishers because those were a little bit more stable. However, I still absolutely love that build because it's just this weird, like, spammy, I'm vacuuming them into me kind of build. It's really, really fun. Should definitely go check it out. I'll leave a link somewhere. You'll see it. I'll make sure it's evident. Now, while we're on builds, Diego Diaz asks, do I like chroma? If so, what's my favorite element and what's a good build for that element? Now, because we're linking shit already, the build that I use on my chroma is my Vexing Ward build. So links wherever it is that I put the other links. You should have annotations turned on, by the way. If you don't have annotations turned on, turn them on because maybe that's where the links are. And my two favorite elements for him are definitely ice if we're going defense and electricity if we're going for offense. Either way, they both work fantastically with that build, so be sure to check it out. Now on that elemental train, Dark and Light asks, what do you think is the best elemental combo for all factions? Well, the answer to that is the appropriate elemental combo. Now I know some people want to half-ass builds and stuff and they don't really want to put effort into it, but if you're asking me, I'm gonna tell you, use the right elemental combos because it makes a world of difference. And don't just use it specifically for that faction, you need to make sure you're also using it for your group makeup. Because you can rock Corrosive in the Void all day long, but if your team has 4 Corrosive projections stacked up, that shit ain't doing anything for you, and you're gonna want to slot in that viral. And honestly, you may not feel it at first, you may not feel it for the first 30 minutes, but as soon as that 40-45 minute mark hits, you're gonna start struggling, and it's not gonna be pretty. That's why you always use the appropriate elemental combos in order to deal the optimal amount of damage. Now moving along, Tommy Hunter and Connor asked, what is my favorite color scheme, Syandana, accessory, animation, and Warframe combo? I think my current favorite would probably have to be the setup that I have on my Saren. I actually kind of ran into the colors by accident when I was forcing myself to use solely the Tenno palette in that video, but I honestly ended up liking it more than the setup I had to begin with. So in this, she's actually using the Ito armor with one of the leg pieces missing. I actually really like the way that it looks and kind of like the asymmetry it gives. As for the Syandana, you guys know I don't like the flowy, capey things. It always just makes me think of Pixar's Incredibles, and I'm like, nope, don't like the dangly capes, no thank you. So that's why I like the Tello Syandana so much. I feel like it just kind of sits at the back just right. And as for animations, I really like Mirage's Noble on Saren. It makes her look a little bit more demure, because usually she's like this rough and tumble broad, and you know, Mirage's stance just softens her up a little bit. Now on that same vein, Caligura asks, what are my favorite and least favorite color palettes? Now at this very moment, since we just had that big PBR pass over the Void, I'm really in love with the Storm palette. I find myself going back to that one a whole lot. It's got nice energy colors, it's got good dark base tones. That one I definitely highly recommend. Now as for my least favorite palettes, there are 2 of them. I'm not a big fan of the Smoke palette just because, I don't know, it's literally just 2 colors and then the gradient. And I just don't, I don't use it that often unless I absolutely need to make sure that something is super white or super black. And the other one that I can't stand, as you guys have probably guessed, is the Infested palette. I mean, what the fuck is that? What? I don't know. I can't, there are no words. There's just no. Now, closing all of that out, TroxyUse asks, will I be doing a dress to kill for all Warframes? And the answer is, I will attempt to. Now, to be honest, I don't really like to put out videos on things that I don't feel 100% confident about, so there might be a few frames that, you're just gonna have to figure out yourself. Like, I'm desperately trying to work out what I want to do with Zephyr. That bitch, she got issues. And Minky even said it himself, he might have done a little too much. Now, next on the list was a fairly popular question. Stormy Cloudy, Ethan Private, and Daniel Flipovic all asked, do I have a boyfriend/husband or am I single? Now, for those of you who are curious, yes, I am very, very much single. However, I am very, very happy being single right now. Honestly, there are a ton of things that I need to do that I just could not even imagine doing with somebody else in my life. Like, honestly, I barely have enough time to change the kitty litter. I can't deal with the full-on boyfriend. So until I get the channel sorted out and see what I can make out of it, I don't think a boyfriend is in the cards for me. Now, XSamuraiX asks, do you love us? And in addition, the 6th Black String asks even more specifically, do you love me? And yes, 6th Black String and XSamuraiX, I do love all y'all. Like family. Now, if you notice, one of the things that I say to anyone who is new to the channel is always welcome to the family. And honestly, it's kind of sad, but I mean, this is the true reality of it. There are some of you out there that I interact more regularly with than my own family, so you guys have kind of become my internet family. And I kind of like it that way. I don't like calling you viewers or subscribers. It's a little cold, it's a little weird, and at the same time, if I call you family, I can cuss you the fuck out if you are acting stupid, because that is what family does. We watch out for each other and we make sure that we are not all acting stupid. So sometimes mama gotta come out with a tough love. And I can do that because we're family. Now, speaking of family, we're gonna close this thing out with Crytex Freeze's question. Who do you think DK should marry? You, Fate, or Shy? Well, since clearly I am too busy to have any kind of relationship, and Fate just recently got out of relationship, and I wouldn't want DK to be a rebound or anything, clearly there is only one choice. And Mama's expecting Warframe babies, so can y'all have at it already? Alrighty, with that said, I now have a question for all of you who have managed to stick through this to the bitter end. First and foremost, did you like the Q&A? Would you want to see a much shorter version of this where I tackle maybe like 3 topics in depth on a bi-weekly or monthly basis? I personally thought it was tons of fun, however having this many questions was a bit overwhelming. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and you never know, this might just become a regular thing. So thank you all for joining me on this incredible, unforgettable, booty juice-filled journey. From my rampages on quick thinking to my orgasm-induced fanboying, there are no words for me to describe how amazing all of this has been. However, I'm not one to spend too much time on looking back, so I'll see you at 50K. Bye!